and welcome to the TMZ Podcast. I'm Charlie Cotton.
I'm Charlie Neff.
And today we got some super interesting stories.
Yep, some backtracking.
Some backtracking.
With Denzel.
One of the most interesting stories I've talked about recently, Denzel Washington is backtracking on saying that there was a gay kiss that was cut from Gladiator. We'll talk about...
And he was pretty specific about the scene.
Yeah, he lied, I think. We'll also talk about Diddy because the feds raided his cell and now Diddy's team has something to say about that, but the prosecutors are saying something very different.
Yes.
And finally, Cynthia Erivo, she is on the red carpet doing this wicked premieres all around the world. And she's also, people say that she's answering the questions not as nicely as she could.
Well, if you ask a girl about how they wipe their butt, I don't think anyone's going to be nice about that.
Okay. To begin with, super interesting stuff. So you'll remember a week or so ago, while Denzel was doing press for Gladiator, he was interviewed by a gay publication, an LGBTQ publication, to which he told them he volunteered that he kissed a man in Gladiator, and then that scene was cut. Should we have a listen
Let's
to
hear
that
what he
interview
said.
now?
Yes.
Okay.
I actually kissed a man in the film, but they took it. They cut it. I think they got chicken.
Oh.
Yeah, I kissed the guy full on the lips, and I guess they weren't ready for that yet.
Just hearing that, no part of me would be like, "Oh, he's lying."
No,
you believe him.
Of course.
He said he kissed a man. What did he say? Full on the lips? Okay, I can visualize it.
100%. So flash forward.
But he also made it seem like they weren't progressive enough to keep that scene in.
Yeah, they were chicken.
Yes.
And so the they that he's referring to might be Ridley Scott.
Right.
Who's the director of the film. Well, Ridley was asked about that answer.
Yeah.
To which Ridley said that it's total bullshit.
Yeah, he said he kills the senator. Is that what you mean? And then the interviewer clarifies.
So this is the interviewer talking. The interview says Denzel said he kissed a man on the lips, but didn't make the final cut.
And Ridley said, no, that's BS. And he said, we even went back and looked at the film. There was never a gay kiss.
They never did it. They acted the moment and it didn't happen. So then Denzel is approached.
Well, because the big Gladiator LA premiere was last night. I mean, everyone in Hollywood was there. Obviously, Denzel's there. He's going to get asked about Ridley Scott, but kind of calling him a liar. And here's what he had to say.
Okay, got to talk about the kiss. Ridley said he never saw the kiss. He said it didn't happen.
It's much ado about nothing. Right. It really is much ado about nothing. You know, they're making more of it than it was. I kissed him on his hands. I gave him a peck, and I killed him.
But I have to tell you, us gay boys want to see Denzel kissing another man.
Well, I don't have the part yet. You gonna write it? We gotta do it. All right.
So he lied.
He lied. I love that he's like, oh, the media made it like a bigger thing than it was. No, sir. No one knew about this alleged gay kiss until you said there was one.
That's a big story. I'm sorry. It's a big story if Gladiator, one of the most anticipated films, is coming out and it's a film for men primarily. You know what I mean? That's who it's targeted towards.
Right.
And then Denzel, one of the biggest actors in the world, says, I kissed a man in this film square on the lips, and Ridley deleted it.
Right, because they're not ready for this.
Of course, that's a big story.
Yeah, 1,000%. And like, we covered the original quotes that he said about that. But I'm kind of confused. So he said in his original interview, he kissed a man straight on the lips, right? And then this one, he does say he kissed their hand and gave him a peck.
No, but he's pecking his hand when he says that.
Okay, because I didn't know if these were two separate things, and maybe he did peck a man on the lips.
No,
he's saying I pecked his hand, like kissed his hand.
Yep.
Why create the lie?
The only thing I can think of is that he was being interviewed by an LGBTQ publication.
Yeah.
And he was trying to sound cool.
Cool?
Yeah, I mean,
lying?
That's the only thing I've got.
Like, did he not think this would get back to the people that No.
I think when you're doing like a little podcast or a little interview, sometimes you don't know how far-reaching it might be. And so you kind of just say something
He's
flippantly.
Denzel Washington. Anything Denzel Washington says is going to be international news.
Just why lie? And also the fact that you said, I think they took it out because they were chicken. We asked the people who were supposedly chicken, the Ridley Scott, and Ridley Scott said he went through the whole film, the stuff that didn't make the final cut. He went through everything, and that never existed. So it meant something to Ridley Scott to prove Denzel wrong.
Do we think there's any chance that there was a gay kiss, like Denzel originally said, and Ridley Scott said, why did you reveal that? We cut that for our own purposes. Tell them that's not true. Is there any way there was a kiss and then they had Denzel backtrack for like PR purposes?
I don't think so, because I don't think you can get Denzel to do anything. He's too big of an actor.
Yeah, like he doesn't need to.
If this was kind of like a minor actor in Gladiator, and I mean minor as in small, not young.
Yeah.
Then I think that maybe you could sort of pressure them to change their answer so that it's not embarrassing on the studio.
But
this is Denzel.
But what if it's like, oh, don't even think about coming back for Gladiator 3? You still think he has more power than Ridley Scott?
I think that's a very unlikely scenario you're painting. Maybe, but unlikely. I think the most likely is Denzel just kind of fibbed.
Yeah.
And got caught out. But it's a pretty like weird, like either you kissed a guy on the lips or you didn't. There's no mistaking.
Now I feel like it needs to happen. If you said it happened and it didn't happen, now you need to make it happen. Let's see the kiss.
Okay. Okay. There we have it. All right, let's get on with our next story. Diddy. Diddy came out.
He can't catch a break.
He can't catch a break. Well, the people defending him came out yesterday all upset that Diddy's cell was raided and that notes Diddy had been taking about the trial with trial strategy on them, with things they plan to do to try to win the case. He thinks that prosecutors basically orchestrated this raid so that they would get private intel to further
his case.
Yeah, to further screw over Diddy in the case, right?
Which would be wrong.
Which would be really wrong. And maybe that is the case. But now the prosecutors are coming out saying no. The raid on Diddy's cell wasn't just on Diddy's cell. It was one of these pre-planned raids. It was organized before even Diddy got arrested to try to find contraband. And it's one of these things you hear about.
They do for everybody, right?
That's what they're saying. They're saying it's to do with everybody. But also they have evidence that Diddy might be someone who has contraband. The prosecutors say that they've got like some sort of evidence of third-party three-way calling. So when you call a number from your prison, you can only call certain numbers. You can't call others.
Yeah.
And so
it has to be like on your list.
Yes. And so they're alleging that Diddy called one of like the contacts on his list, and then they looped in a third-way conference call to someone who wasn't supposed to be on Diddy's list.
That's weird, because what if it's like, legal related?
I mean, it could, but rules are rules. I don't know. So it says that maybe he used other inmates' phone, and also they're worried that he had a third-party text messaging provider. So then they said they went into, other cells as well as Diddy's, and in Diddy's cell, what they did was they took photos of the items. Like they checked that he had a manila folder with legal notes. The prosecutors are saying, look, we didn't go through those notes. We just took a photo of the cover and we kind of patted it down to make sure there wasn't anything hiding in there like we do for other inmates.
Right.
But we didn't open the book. Well, basically, Diddy's defense is saying you did open the book, you took all the photos of our notes. Now you're cheating in the case.
Yeah.
And so they want like an emergency hearing to sort of determine what to do here, because they think, this is a miscarriage of justice.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, that should be, like, easily provable, right? Like, did they take photos of the notes or not?
Yeah. And also, they're saying that if anything there was photos of it, it was redacted. The important stuff pertaining to the case was redacted so that prosecutors wouldn't get to see it.
And also, like, the people that are in charge of the jail, they don't care about his case.
You don't think?
I don't think so. Why would they? They're not.
Diddy.
Yeah, and I mean, if anything, like, all they're doing is just like they're in charge of the jail, right? They need to know, do you have a shank on you or not? Like that's all they care about. They have no connection to like the courts.
I think, that it's all part of the prosecutors. The people overlooking the jail and doing the raid they're on the prosecutors' side.
Are they?
I would think that they're kind of like the law. And the prosecutors are like, the government, the law. So
you're just looping it all in as like the government. The government versus Diddy.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what Diddy's team is alleging. That it's us against the world.
Yeah.
Basically.
Right.
But it will be interesting to
I'm
see.
curious like who that three-way call was.
Yeah.
What if it's like, we got to get another freak off going.
In the jail.
Oh, God.
I don't know about that. That'd be quite a freak off behind bars.
Woo.
Okay, on to our final story. Wicked is premiering every city around the world.
Oh, my gosh. I can't wait for this movie.
In like a week or two?
Yeah, next week after, what is it? Or on
Thanksgiving?
Yeah. So Cynthia Erivo, she's obviously the main star of this movie. She's been doing a bunch of interviews, so much press for Wicked. And Dax Shepard, who, is an actor, he's also a comedian. He had asked her on his podcast, which is called Armchair Expert, he asked her a very inappropriate question. He said, because she has these like really long nails, and he said, here's the thing. I want to ask you a really crazy question that's inappropriate. And she's like, okay. And he goes, when you're wiping your butt, and then she goes, oh my God, I knew you were going to ask that question. He goes, and she says, my answer is that nobody uses just their fingers to wipe their backside. You use tissue, correct? And you wipe. And then he continued on and asked her like whether she uses the tips of her fingernails. And it was just like this whole dialogue about her being able to wipe her butt with these long nails. And he like said, do you feel like a little tickle if the nails are on the crack of like her butt? And he even asked her if she was offended by the question, and she admitted she was more annoyed because she is a functioning adult.
Okay. I think it's a fair question.
No.
I mean, I ask celebrities questions for a living, and I think your job as an interviewer is to try to solicit the most, interesting and shareable answer so that, the interview takes off like it has, like we're talking about it on the podcast for a reason. And I think that I have probably asked this question to a celebrity throughout my decade working at TMZ. Like if you see a lady with long nails, I don't think it's a crazy question to say, how do you wipe?
Well, it's definitely something like people wonder, right? But I feel like there's this disconnect between men and women where men are consistently trying to like catch women in like a gross state where it's like, oh, do you fart? Oh, do
Fart.
I am trying to do your accent.
Do you fart?
Like when guys ask like, oh, do you fart? Like, do you poop? Like, do you like wipe your butt with your nails? Like, I just feel like it's like, I don't know, like let women be feminine, let us be private. And I feel like it's kind of like more of a private question. Like, do you really think she has trouble wiping her butt? I don't think she would have these nails if there were an issue.
I would like to know. I mean, I would.
You would like to know, but you have no business knowing.
But if I am interviewing her, and this is a podcast interview, so this is a long interview.
Yes.
That's definitely one of my questions. If I was sitting down with Cynthia Erivo for an hour conversation, that would be one of my questions.
Can you see why she said that she was annoyed by the question? Can you see how somebody would be annoyed by that?
Yeah. I think, so maybe I can see it from both sides.
Yeah. I mean, look, I get people would want to ask. I don't have long nails, right? Like,
how do you wipe, though? Do you scrunch your fold?
I'm not doing this. We're moving on. Okay. Oh, wait. I guess we're moving on to nothing.
We're moving on to the comments.
Yeah.
Moving on to the comments. You want to read some of them out?
Write in quickly, you guys. Ladies, do you agree with me or Charlie? Is the question okay or not?
Scrunch your fold, ladies. Read them out.
All right, Denzel. So for the Denzel story about the kiss that didn't happen, David Ramos Jr. said, he wouldn't lie, though. He's not known to lie.
He provably lied. We've got one. He provably lied.
I still have that one theory, right? That maybe they told him, no, clean this up now. Justin Harris said, don't worry, we're going to see that scene of Denzel locking lips with a guy soon on Tubi or X. I too think it doesn't need to be as big as we're making it. Look, if there is the clip, if it happened, there's footage, right? So somebody leaked that footage. For the Diddy stuff, JCK Baby said, what's so wrong with them raiding his cell in order to know what that criminal is up to? Yes, it was very well needed for him. He can't be trusted, period. Kudos, TF, to them. I mean, yeah, like we mentioned, they do these checks often.
I still think
I've watched Orange is the New Black.
You watch Orange, so you know, you think you know all about.
Yes, I do.
I still think that, some things you get to have private before your case. Like, you've got a trial strategy. There are things that you're going to bring up that you don't want prosecutors knowing yet, to defend yourself. And if they know ahead of time, they can figure it out. I think if they did what Diddy's alleging, then it's a big no-no.
And then Brandon said, Diddy hid that contraband up his prison pouch. MM said, Diddy has done whatever he wants for so long. He has trouble following the rules. Money makes some people feel entitled. That is true.
And on Cynthia Erivo's story, David is agreeing with you. David Zaldivar. Yes, my girl Charlie's telling facts. Heather D says the question is valid. There's no way you can wipe well with those nails. There's no way. And yeah, because you use the finger pads, like she says, the nails are like...
so long, and they kind of curve.
They curl.
Yeah.
They curl. So I'm wondering, where do they curl to? Heather Adney, no, it's not okay to ask that. It's weird. I like this. I like that people on different sides.
Yeah, yeah.
These are the stories we need. This is why this question was asked, because it's so divisive. Sasha Feaster says, not a lady. I'm not a lady, but it's ridiculous. It's only asked so you can have some shameful thing hit the internet. That's all. Stop asking me stupid questions. So,
I'm a guy, you're making me look bad. Yeah, see, I do think that's the right word. It's like a shameful thing.
No,
like,
it's not. Everybody poops. Like, everybody wipes.
Come on. You're going to ask like a beautiful woman that's like at the top of her game, has the biggest role, in her whole life at this moment. And it's going to be like, oh, how do you wipe your butt with those nails?
That's why you ask. Because it's a beautiful woman at the top of her game. If it was like a gross guy at the bottom of his game, it'd be an obvious, it wouldn't be interesting. It's because of the contrast between beautiful woman wiping her butt.
I feel like you can settle this. Grow out your nails long, Charlie, and report back to us.
Tasha Moody Love is so happy that she made the live podcast every morning, 7:30 a.m. or a little bit later than that.
Tasha Moody Love, what?
Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you, Charlie.
And we'll see you guys here tomorrow.
Bye, guys.